Hello, I'm Todd Phillips, the editor of Canadian Auto Dealer. We're here today with Todd Bourgon, Executive Director of the TADA. Todd, thanks for joining us.
Hey Todd, thanks for having me. Nice to see you again.
Well, I nearly stumbled over my introduction for you there because I have to get used to this new name. So tell us about that. I can see in the logo above your shoulder a new and as now unfamiliar name. Tell us a bit about the name change.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, the our association name is going to be changing its branding and its namesake out to market. Officially May the 1st, from a branding perspective, it will be called the Motor Vehicle Retailers of Ontario. And you see in behind me our new logo, and that will be our go-to-market logo that has our .ca to drive people to where we normally drive them, which is to our website, which then has all of our tools for our members on it.
And tell us about the thinking behind that. I mean, it's not new in the sense your board, I mean, have reached its decision a while ago. You sort of operationalized it, but it's just coming into effect May 1st. But what was the thinking, the discussions with your board and members around the need for the name change?
Well, it was a long road to that, to be honest with you. And it really it started before the pandemic, meaning that there were often stakeholders that were confused by the name Trillium. And when there wasn't kind of the chaos that was going on during the pandemic at government levels or stakeholders that were new to the industry, you had, I guess, the luxury of explaining who you were, who you represented, getting them your economic impact study to show, the size and the power of the organization. That point basically opened a lot of doors for you. We lost that luxury during the pandemic, and it was just because things were operating so quickly, and absolutely like minute by minute. And so you'd get a request from one organization within the government to provide something, and then you were wondering, like, why did this other part of this discussion take place? And we often found that we were really chasing the ball in some cases to get our voices heard in some of the committees that were structured that became critical to our industry in terms of decision making, whether it was queues and providing that input through the province that ultimately went to the feds. But when that one committee that I just mentioned was structured, we were the ones on the outside forcing ourselves into that discussion because there were so many new people leading that committee. They had no idea that, Trillium was connected to the automobile side. In their mind, it was connected more to the health network, believe it or not. So what we did after all the pandemic is that, like every organization and all of our dealer members, and probably you guys at Universus did as well, is that you look back at all the things that worked well and you look back at the things that were opportunistic. And when the board sat down and did a post analysis of all of this, the one thing that came up was that it was likely time for us to relook at a namesake that more reflected kind of where we are today as an industry. It took any sort of question marks away from people identifying what it is that we do and who we are, and something that, down the road or from a future perspective, that, would allow us to be completely representative of, the industry today that continues to evolve. So that's really how it started. And to your earlier point, the name was officially approved last June at our AGM, unanimously approved. And the business name officially did change January 1st of 2023. But operationally, we've just been operating under our old brand just because we want to make sure that we do this correctly. And with an auto show taking place in February, that was kind of all hands on deck with a number of other priorities. So now we'll get to, slowly launching this out and making people aware that we're still the same organization, internally. We're just putting a different sign on the front door.
Well, let's break it down a little bit in terms of each of the letters, I guess. So we've got motor vehicles, which is a shift from automotive, and we can talk about that, but also retailer.
Mm.
Retail as opposed to dealer, that's a switch. And obviously Ontario now clearly identifies the jurisdiction you operate in. So really, the name change is pretty significant in that sense. So let's start with motor vehicle versus automotive, just maybe a bit of a broader category.
Sure. So what we did when we looked at, even considering changing the name, was we struck a committee that was formed of the peer group, of some of our boards, so all dealers on the committee and some of our past presidents as well, so that there was input from a variety of different sources and from a variety of different kind of generations that have been through either the TADA or belonged to the TDA at the time. And motor vehicle, they felt, was more indicative of really what we represent today, is that the motor vehicle doesn't just mean it's a gas engine or a diesel engine anymore. An electric engine is an engine as well. Obviously, that's where the engine's going, or sorry, the industry is going. So they really zeroed in on motor vehicle as something that became all encompassing, that wouldn't have us looking at, are we going to have to change our name in 10 years from now, not knowing exactly where industry evolves and how fast technology changes. So that's really where that came from. On the retailer side, that was an interesting one. And that actually was guidance from one of our past presidents, that they're seeing a lot of the contracts, that the dealer service and sales agreements from the manufacturers now have wording of dealer actually being changed to retailer. Not every single brand, but they're seeing it a lot more. And so the sense was is that that would continue to change as time went on. So that being the case, we wanted to be, quote unquote, one step ahead, and obviously more in sync. And so that's where the name retailer came from. And the truth is that the name retailer can be quite broad, as we both know. We have organizations that sell new cars, used cars. They sell light truck. Some of them actually sell power sports. Not that we represent that, but we've seen, as you've seen, industry evolve over the last 10, 15 years, that name would be quite indicative of actually who we really are.
The other thing is that it does, we were talking earlier, make the name of the association kind of more in step with all of the other associations, automotive associations, sort of across Canada and other jurisdictions. It clearly ties it to the jurisdiction, makes it pretty clear. So I guess you're getting rid of the Trillium name. It was a bit of an anomaly, out there on its own, and now I guess it's more accurate, I guess, in terms of what you're all about, right? So
Nobody has any sort of disrespect at all for an association that had 115-year namesake history, which TADA was. But TADA as a namesake had been around for 115 years, but Trillium actually had only been around for 11 years. When we merged with the Ontario Association back in 2012, the original name of Toronto disappeared and became Trillium. So when you see things in our logo like color choice, and even the O that represents Ontario, there was a lot of thought process to try and respect the tradition of the association, but at the same time, look to where we are today as an industry and kind of where the industry is going, and how do we make sure that we sound and act as who we really are. As far as the other provinces and other states in the U.S., that didn't become the leading charge of this, whatsoever, but it certainly became a discussion point within the committee that this is the direction that every other association, has gone in and has been in for many years. So we're not really stepping outside of the box, so to speak.
okay, so you're the association formerly known as TADA. I can call you that. And you've got the new
Yeah.
symbol in behind you, so it looks great. And operationally, I guess for dealers, for suppliers, for other people that are, going to be watching this video and reading the story, I guess they should really keep an eye out for this, whether it's your events or, newsletters, all that stuff. Everything will shift to the new branding and logo really starting in May, right? So
Yeah, we're going to try and make this as seamless as possible, just like we did in 2012 when we shifted from Toronto to Trillium. Nothing that we do today, and nothing that we represent today, and none of the membership expertise that we bring from a lobbying perspective will change. I mean, we're going to be the same organization that does the same things for dealerships that we've always done, and that's our number one priority. The same on the vendor side, and the same when we put on events and educational events, is that none of that is going to change behind the scenes in terms of what we looked for and how we're driven to populate those types of things. The name will be the only thing that changes. As far as outreach to us goes, like I said, we're going to make this simple. People can reach us through our new email addresses, and our old email addresses will redirect for a very, very long time, as will our old website, so that people aren't getting shut out. We'll make this as seamless and easy as we possibly can for everybody, so that nothing gets missed.
and the new website URL?
Right behind me, MVRO.ca. So that was probably more for guys like me that don't remember things as well as they once used to. That I said, if that can be incorporated into our logo, then none of us will ever forget our new web domain, and neither will our members. And our members and vendors, even including guys like yourself, they access a lot of our registrations and a lot of information that we don't want in the public domain. behind our firewall. So to access, getting behind our firewall on our website, you have to have a login. And so this is why we thought this was the easiest way to do it.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for bringing us up to speed, and we'll be keeping an eye out, and we'll try to get used to the new name, because as of May 1st, this is the new name of formerly TADA, MVRO.
Well, thanks very much, Todd, for having me. I appreciate it. And we should probably let people know that neither one of us knew we were going to wear the same shirts.
Exactly. Well, I'll send you a note next time. All right,
That's right.
thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you.
Signing off.